Hello all, welcome to the Java session, and in this session we'll understand a concept of Java called method overloading. Method is also called as function, hence it can also be called as function overloading. Okay, so before I start the programmatic understanding of method overloading, let us start with understanding of what is a method. Though we have already seen what is the meaning of method, okay, method is nothing but a task or a work, correct? It's nothing but a work. Think about this. In our day-to-day life, we perform a lot of works or we perform a lot of tasks. When we are performing these tasks, to get the task done, we may use different kinds of input, isn't it? Let's say I need to call someone. So I need to call my friend. Okay, I can use an input called mobile phone and I can call this guy. I can use my mobile as an input and I can call my friend, correct? This is option number one. So this is a work. This is a work or a task, right? In the same way, I can talk to my friend, okay, using, let's say, Skype. I use Skype. I can call this guy, right? So here, observe, calling is the same process, but here you are using one input called mobile phone. Here using another input called as Skype. You use a Skype along with let's say the laptop, correct? In your laptop you install Skype and you talk to each other. So that means in many of the cases we perform the similar tasks or similar work but by using different inputs, isn't it? So this is called as work overloading. Work programmatically can be considered as the methods, hence it is called as method overloading. Okay, so ultimately at the nutshell, doing a similar kind of work by using different inputs can be considered as overloading. That is method overloading. Let me in a little while let me explain that to you by using in programmatically what is the meaning. Okay, let me take another real-time case study. Let's say the person wants to eat the food. So what is the input for this guy? Food is an input for the person, right? So the input is the food for this person to eat, right? So eat is one work. Input for this work is food. Sometimes, let's say you're traveling somewhere, you just get the food. So food is an input. Sometimes when you're traveling, you on the way you go to a hotel and you ask for the food. Definitely here also you eat the food, but along with the food they also give you the plate, okay, so they also give you spoon, not of course not for eating but for using it, correct? So here you are eating by using different inputs like food, plate and spoon, but here you are just eating the food, correct? That is, or let's say you go for trekking. In trekking, when you go for trekking in the deep jungle or the forest, there you cannot expect someone to give plate, spoon, sophistications and all. So you are carrying the food and you simply eat the food. You may not use spoon, you may not use plate and all, but you certainly use just eat. In other cases you eat maybe by using food, plate, spoon, etc. That is, here also performing the same thing in different situations using different inputs. So and we call this as method overloading. Okay, so let us understand what is method overloading from the context of programming. Okay, the definition is, in a class when we have more than one method with the same name is very important, okay, same name, but change in the signature. What is signature? Let us understand. Is considered as method overloading. This is considered as method overloading. Okay, let me explain this to you with a one simple example. Let us consider a class, simple class, let's say calculator class. In default package, in this class there are possibilities that we can have multiple methods. Let's say this add method is going to add two numbers. This add method is going to add two numbers, first number and the integer, let's say second number. Okay, so it prints integer result equal to first number plus second number. Okay, this is one method in a class. In a same class I can have one more method, but these two methods, since they are same, it can be considered as duplicates, correct? That's why the same method, same in a class, more than one method having the same name. Please observe, more than one method with the same name, but there has to be change in the signature. You can have multiple methods with the same name in a same class, but what should be difference? Signature must be changed. Signature means this is called the signature. This is called the method signature. There has to be change in the signature. When I say change in the signature, what are those different changes? Okay, there are majorly three different changes. Okay, the first one is called as, there are three changes. The first one is called as number of parameters or arguments. There has to be the difference. First one, number of parameters. Here the number of parameters are 2 and here also number of parameters are 2. Clear? Either there has to be a change. Now let's say I add another parameter, let's say integer third number, correct? So here there are two number of parameters, here there are three number of parameters, hence this is called as method overloading. So this is the one of the first parameters that has to be considered. When I say change in the signature, this is called signature, and of course if you observe, there is a change here. What is that change? Number of parameters. Number of parameters are 2 and here number of parameters are 3. This is the first change. Let's say second change. This is add method, this is also add method. Number of parameters are 2, here also number of parameters are 2. In that case it is considered as the data type. Now data type is considered. Here integer, here I consider, let's say double, right? When you add double and integer, of course you get the result as double, right? Let us not forget about logic. Let's not consider the logic, forget the logic, okay? I'm not interested. Some logic goes here. Some logic or implementation, some implementation goes here. Some implementation goes here. Let's not worry about what is the logic or implementation. If you observe these methods carefully, see, in a class, more than one method, right? More than one method with the same name but change in the signature. Please compare this method with this method. Signature, 2 number of parameters, 3 number of parameters. Hence I say number of parameters, there is a change. It is considered as method overloading. Now compare this method and the third method. Here number of parameters are 2, here number of parameters are 2. When the number of parameters are same, then what is considered? Data type is considered. So you observe the data type, it is integer, integer, and this is integer and then double. Hence there is a change in the parameters or change in the data types. This is also considered as method overloading. There is one more last change. What is that? Sequence. Sequence. Okay, just to give you an example, I write another add method. These two are considered as duplicates. This I'm going to make it as, let's say, double, and this I'm going to make it as int. Observe the sequence. Here the sequence is integer and double. Here it is double and then integer. The name of the parameter does not matter. You can give any name, x, y, I, j. You can give any name. Name does not matter. Just to avoid confusion, I give it as I and j. Observe these two methods. Method name is same. Parameters are also same. Data type is integer double, and this is double and then integer. That is, there is a clear difference in the sequence. So these three parameters are considered in case when we say change in signature. Okay, so this is called as method overloading. Generally you may get a question, why it is used? Pretty straightforward answer. If you consider this into a real-time scenario, this is a same way of doing the things. Based on the situation, we use different inputs. Okay, let me take you through one very realistic case study which we come across in the project. Okay, let me explain that to you. Imagine you have a class. You are writing a class, a login utility. That is, you are writing a program to check whether the login is proper or not. Let's say login utility. Okay, in this I'm going to write a method called as validate login. Validate login. For me to check whether username valid, whether the user is valid user or not, I need two parameters. One is string username and another one is string password. Correct? So this is a method which takes username and the password. So if the username and the password is proper, let's say I return a boolean result. I write a boolean result that is true or false. So here of course I write the logic. Don't call it as logic, call it as implementation. So here I write the logic or implementation to check username and password is proper or not. If the username and password matches, then I return true, or else I may return false. So here if you observe this method, this is one of the method which is present in a class called login utility, right? This is option number one. There are possibilities that when you are writing the test case, you may create some data like username, test data like username and password. Let's say you may store that in Excel sheet or any other file. We store username and password in a file, right? And then I may check whether username password matches or not. I write another method in a class. I write another method in a class called validate login, but this time I don't use, okay, I don't use this username password directly, okay. Instead I take an file type, okay. This file represents the file which internally has got username and password. Here also I'm checking username and password and checking the valid and validating the user. Here also I'm validating the user. Please observe, here I'm using two inputs. The signature is 2. Here I'm using 1. This is called as method overloading. In a class, when you have multiple methods with the same name but change in the signature is called as method overloading. Okay, please observe, again I'm insisting, only signature is considered. Return type is not considered. In method overloading, return type is not considered. What is the meaning of this? Let's say I write a method, some method called yum. Let's say I take integer I. Okay, another method I write, method. Here this also takes integer I. Please observe, this is number of parameter is 1. Here also number of parameter is 1. Data type of the parameter is integer. Here this data type is integer. But the return type is, let's say, here the return type is integer. Here the return type is boolean. Just giving you an example. This is not considered as method overloading. Some people may get confused. See, method name is same but return types are different. In method overloading we never consider the return type. Then what is considered? Only method name and signature is considered but not the method return type. So you have to be careful. Okay, so when you are writing the method, if you have, based on the situation, project scenarios, you can write multiple methods with the same name in a class but change in the signature. This is called as method overloading. Okay, let me just take you through this example which we have already written. Okay, method name is same but only signature is different. So this is called method overloading. Okay, so that's it in this session. Thank you for watching.